Imagine a book that has your heart racing, blood pumping, giggling.
Let's talk about some of the books that absolutely destroyed me.
These 5 books will emotionally destroy you, and we're going to go in order of length, not.
You lied to me!
I did.
5 books that emotionally wrecked me. Book series that absolutely destroyed my soul. Here are some books I recommend that made me physically and emotionally ill. These are a few of the intros on short form videos that have been coming across my feed lately. They are hyperbolic and they really grab your attention. But I've also seen this idea mentioned in long form content as well, particularly around more sad, traumatic books like A Little Life, but also even with some fandoms like Throne of Glass and The Hunger Games. This dramatic, borderline obsessive language about books and their emotional impact. So I've been thinking about this idea for a while. When was the last time that you were emotionally devastated by a book? The last time that a book truly made you sob? I, for one, have not cried from a book in many, many years. I'll get choked up and maybe have a tear in my eye, but I do find that's usually more to do with whatever is happening in my personal life or hormonally even, more than it is a sign of a good book for me. I honestly can't remember sobbing from reading a book since I read The Bridge to Terabithia as a child. So I find it interesting that this is the benchmark that some people are using to indicate quality. And there is something there that resonates with me. This idea of emotional investment that is so intense that people are describing it as devastating. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it gives me pretty severe FOMO. It's actually gotten me thinking, what am I doing wrong? Am I not reading the right books? Am I just stone-hearted and can no longer feel the full range of human emotion? So this video is serving 2 purposes. First, I wanted to open up the discussion on reading for emotional impact. Is it more or less important than other qualities in writing? Are there certain themes that resonate with you, or is it often more right place, right time, which has been mostly my experience? Is that even a worthwhile objective when it often feels like a moving target? I do think there is an argument to be made here that maybe those who feel the most emotional impact are also people who are newer to reading. And maybe they're just experiencing writing that frames something in a new way that they've never seen before. And the more we read, the less we get to experience that. I am curious what your thoughts are, so please share in the comments. I would really love to hear from you. But the second purpose of this video is to address my emotional FOMO. So I have brainstormed 5 practices that I hope will facilitate some more emotionally impactful reading experiences in my future. And I thought I would share those with you today. So number 1, the most obvious route here is just curating a better TBR. I do think that this is a skill that takes a lifetime to learn, but it is worth paying attention to. Figuring out what elements of a story are meaningful to you personally, and finding reviews of books that seem to align with what you care about in a story. A good starting point might be checking out some books from those emotional book list videos that I've mentioned. I have read books that have popped up on these lists before, and so far none of them have made me sob, but there are always more than I could try, so you never know. Next, I'm prioritizing immersion. I am setting aside time for what I call mini readathons, basically taking an hour or so to let myself dive into a book for a little bit longer than usual without interruption. And during these mini readathons, I like to really set up the space, set the ambiance, put on music, light a candle, have some tea, the whole shebang. I'll also like to do a little bit of audiobook and physical reading together, but I'm really trying to focus on the physical reading during this time because that is the part that I don't get to do as often. And so far this has actually been working, I think. I'm going to try to make this a more consistent practice on the weekends and hopefully have some longer sessions as time permits and as I figure out how to incorporate this into my schedule. Another practice is reading books that build on each other. So I've seen this referred to as deep reading, where characters in a book will mention another book, and you can then go read that book that the characters were discussing. I think this does add a level of immersion because you're essentially aligning your experience with the author, with the characters, and with the world that's being built in the novel. And it actually doesn't even need to be books. It can literally be music, film, or any other media that's mentioned. I think potentially this could even be expanded to things that aren't explicitly mentioned. You could even find something that was popular at the time and location that the book takes place. This is a practice that I think could potentially get overwhelming, so I think it's important to just remember to have fun with it. The last time I did this, I was reading The Three-Body Problem, and the characters mentioned the short story called The Billiard Ball by Isaac Asimov. So I was looking into it and found that I could just read it online in less than a day. So I did that, and I came back to continue reading The Three-Body Problem with a better understanding of what the characters were talking about. And honestly, it was really satisfying. Next is delving into a new genre or subgenre. While fantasy and romance are definitely my comfort genres, I do find that I tend to get a little bit over analytical and critical particularly because I'm so familiar with them. So I have been trying to dabble into literary fiction as well as sci-fi, which is a genre I used to really thought I hated. I'm excited to see what I might discover and experience delving into these genres that I had previously kind of written off. The next tactic I'm planning to try is reading longer book series. I think this has so much potential because I know that the longer amount of time that I spend with characters, the more I will inevitably get emotionally invested in them. This is also probably the most untested practice on this list. It has been a really long time since I've read a series fully through that wasn't just interconnected standalones. Over the past few years, I've read a few young adult duologies and trilogies, but I've kind of stayed away from the longer series. But I have many on my radar that I'm really excited to check out. I think the key to this will be reading the series in order as much as possible, so finishing one book and then moving right along to the next one in the series without breaking it up too much, because I think when there's more time in between, some of that emotional impact does get lost. So I'm hoping to stick with series one at a time going forward. I think the one that I'm most excited for is The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb, as well as probably Stormlight Archive and the Neapolitan novels. And as a final bonus practice quote, I wanted to mention just having new life experiences will also change how we connect with books. Earlier, I talked about how I think that newer readers sometimes connect more easily or become obsessed more easily with a book or a series because everything is so shiny and new, but over time it loses impact the more you read. This is just my theory, but if it is true, then I'm pretty much out of the game already. The rate at which I am feeling impacted by books is already dwindling, and genuinely I think that makes sense. The possible caveat to this, I think, is if we just experience something that's life-changing, something like potentially becoming a parent or experiencing loss, these different iterations of love and heartbreak, because our understanding of life shifts constantly, and new experiences can completely reshape us. So it's likely that the books that we connect with will be different, and therefore reading might start to feel different. This is obviously something that we can't control, but it is something to consider as we're curating our reading list throughout the years and might want to revisit some stories that didn't necessarily have as much impact the first time around. So those are my 5 practices for a more emotionally impactful reading experience. I will also caveat with this: people exaggerate online all the time. I can only speak for myself when I say that the impact of reading can absolutely be significant, but I have found it to be a more subtle and slow process and never really down to just one book. I also don't want to cheapen words like devastating and transcendental and life-changing just because it makes a punchier soundbite. But I do want to enjoy my reading to the fullest. So I'm going to incorporate some of these practices into my reading where I can and try to open myself up to the possibility that maybe my next read will be devastating or transcendental or life-changing. But if it's not, that's okay too, because my life is not just this one hobby. It is full of amazing emotional experiences all the time, and I think that reading is complementary to that. Again, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you read or watched anything recently that you would say emotionally destroyed you? Or should that even be the goal with reading? Let me know. I'd love to hear what you think. Please don't forget to like the video and hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video soon.